as Ron mentioned, Rakesh Anantharaman, I lead the Application Modernization practice here at Redapt. Just a quick intro before we go into the details about what I wanted to present today. Redapt, we are a national systems integrator, as Ron just mentioned. We do both the hardware side and the professional services side of consulting. We ship globally racks to customers over 32 countries. Some of the biggest names that are present right now are our customers, especially go-to meetings, competitors here. We also have professional services side. In the consulting world, we call them practices, and we are divided into those practices here. I lead the practice called Application Modernization, which is responsible for modernizing, as the name suggests, modernizing and innovating your applications while you move from on-premise to any of the clouds that of your choice. We support migration from on-premise to all the three clouds, Azure, AWS, and GCP as well as lift and shifts that you need to happen as you move from one place to the other. So just want to kind of give a quick intro about Redapt. We have other practice areas as well. We do a lot on the advanced analytics, machine learning, AI stuff. We also do our modern data center practice kind of does a lot of, this is where I have to move to the next one. Our modern data center does a lot of our lift and shifts from on-premise to clouds as virtual machines and everything. We have application modernization that I'm part of, advanced analytics, which deals with building out reporting infrastructure, any kind of machine learning, artificial intelligence that needs to happen comes along, goes into that practice. And we have DevOps and DevSecOps that are present across all the different practice areas that we currently support. We also have managed services that are applicable across all three clouds. We support Azure, AWS, and GCP right now. Moving into what we are looking to cover today, four major things that I wanted to cover today, right? Just taking a step back. What are some of the current enterprise challenges that the customers are facing right now, and what we are seeing as a systems integrator that we kind of see on a day-to-day basis? And at any point of time we talk to the customer, the first thing that we usually explain to them, okay, what makes an application modern, right? You may have some kind of application that's hasn't been touched in like 10 years, or we haven't had any feature development, or it's still running on premise for the past 20-25 years. So we kind of walk them through the process. Again, it's a crawl, walk, run approach that we usually take, and we walk them through the process of what makes an application modern. Modernizing, what does it actually mean, and what it entails. The third thing would be the roadmap to modernized application. As I said, it's going to be a slower process. It's not like just lift and shift from one place to the other. Truly understanding what it takes. It takes time. Everybody understands that. So we kind of I'll be able to walk you guys what Redapt's way of doing it is. And the fourth one, it says key opportunities and solutions. I want to cover mostly on the Kubernetes side because it's Kubernetes day to day, right? So there are a few tools that we prefer that we use inside Redapt. I want to kind of talk about that to wrap it up. Some of the current enterprise challenges. This is not news to anybody, right? Three things that everybody focuses on right now: speed, agility, and cost. How can I bring my product to a market at a much faster pace? How do I find efficiencies in already existing workflows, or can I create new workflows to reduce costs that I'm incurring right now? And instead of me focusing on my infrastructure, instead of me focusing on other things that are present, how can I work faster to free up more time for innovation? Because that should be the bread and butter. That should be kind of the main thing that enterprises should focus on. The second thing, agility, right? Flexibility in how products are made and ability to react quickly to changes across all the projects that we do, all the engagements that we do. We kind of definitely shoot for agility. It's not going to be more of a waterfall kind of a model. We listen to the customers all the time, adapt to changes, and react to changes as soon as possible in order to get the customers out of the door and be able to be better than their competitors in the market. At the same time, even if you have speed and agility, end of day it comes down to cost. So how do we keep the cost down by migrating something like managed services on Azure, right? Sometimes, and we'll cover it in the next few slides, you can always do lift and shifts from one to the other, but the true cost, you'll see a true savings to your cost when you do migrate from something like your on-premise to something like app services on Azure, or GKE on Google, or AKS on Azure. So those are some of the things that we usually cover while we go through the modernization journey. These are some of the stats that I was able to kind of pull up from Gartner. So global application app mod services market is estimated to hit almost 11 billion by the end of 2020. This was again last year. It has hit that, and it's going to it's going to double pretty quickly in the next 5 years. And Microsoft and everybody is kind of invested in this one right now, where a lot of focus has been given to modernization, right? Yes, it was time for the data stuff. Yes, that came and went. Now it's time for the application itself to go through the modernization journey. So the pandemic that has happened has made it very clear that providing greater flexibility to teams in no matter where they work from is kind of the important things that that enterprises are focusing on right now. Again, going back to the three main things that we talked about: speed, agility, and cost. How do we reduce cost by leveraging the scalability of the cloud, as well as how can we use the modern that the other speakers were talking today as well, modern development practices like DevOps, Azure DevOps, GitHub, Jira, Jenkins, etc., right? We have many tools available. How do you use that to accelerate their innovation? So you focus on what is needed, which is innovation, and not necessarily focus on the back-end portions and the cost and everything, which is kind of taken care of for you automatically when you move to the cloud. The second thing is what makes modernized. What do you call a modernized application, right? So that it should support four things, in my opinion. Elasticity, resiliency, scalability, and efficiency. So these are the four key pillars for a modern application, and it's pretty self-explanatory there. Elasticity, functionality should be device and platform agnostic, and nowadays should be cloud agnostic as well, right? Because Kubernetes kind of gives that for you, but it doesn't matter which cloud it runs on, doesn't matter which device or platform or wherever it is running on. It should function properly. Resiliency, it has to be your application has to be loosely coupled in a way. If one part of your application goes down, the rest of it does not go down with it. And similarly, this is where all the disaster recovery and business continuity conversations come into, where you think about, hey, if my data center, if my West data center is down, can I easily fail over to something like US East data center? And we have and Redapt, we have our own BCNDR execution plan that we put together from the last 10 years that we worked on this. The third important thing here is scalability. Your application, again, Kubernetes kind of comes into play here as well. Your segments of your application that would usually receive high traffic should be able to scale should be able to scale high. It should be able to scale up and scale out as well, depending on the needs of your application, and Kubernetes kind of gives it for you. But that's one of the most important things that I would stress on what do you call an application modern, right? What do you call, how do you call, or when do you call an application modern? Efficiency goes along with it. This is again going back to the agility, that the conversation that we talked about initially. Applications should be able to be updated routinely, especially compared to traditional waterfall apps, right? You know how we used to do it probably 10, 12 years ago. But nowadays, it's all about being agile. It's all about kind of listening to your customers, adapting pretty quickly, making it more efficient, getting stuff to the market at a much faster pace. So those are some of the main four things that people have to focus on when we talk about modernized applications. Modernized applications, it allows enterprises to kind of use the existing cloud native tools like DevOps tools, the other things that we talked about, rather than building tools from scratch. You have pretty good applications, pretty good services that are available for you to use and scale and adapt quickly. Going back to the scalability portion, scale components of software independently for greater elasticity. And the third thing that we always talk about is cost, right? How do we optimize the cost? How do we reduce the cost? By easily scaling up the application, scaling up parts of the application when it is actually needed, and scaling it down when it is not. So we actually maintain and optimize the costs that way. So it's not going to be you'll be paying for the entire application running all the time, but goes up and down and kind of be able to reduce and manage the costs accordingly. There are a few things that we talk about when we take a customer through the app modernization journey, right? 4 things that comes to our mind pretty quickly. Of course, you can lift and shift from your on-premise environment, running your applications, your databases, your services that's running on a virtual machine on-prem, and easily lift and shift into something like Azure, VM, or EC2, or any other instances that are running on the cloud. But this is where our expertise comes in, and we kind of talk about, hey, is that what you actually need? Can we talk a little bit in detail about, do you really want to do lift and shift, or can we kind of truly modernize it along the way, where hosting it something like Azure App Service or AKS or whatever the managed services that are available on the cloud, is that kind of your right thing to do? So we help the customer through that journey. We also find out that not every application in an enterprise's portfolio is suitable for the cloud. We have had a lot of applications where after we talk to the customer, we say, hey, let it be where it is. It's not broken, so don't go about fixing it. And I would say not a lot of applications fit into this, but we have seen a few that we kind of recommend, hey, maybe it makes sense to kind of let it be there. This is not a true case for us to go modernize it. The other thing that we've also found out is legacy applications, the older they are, often needs to be pulled apart and re-architected and microservices, and going about the Kubernetes way, we found it to be more challenging because of the legacy of the application itself, the time that it has been untouched, so to say. And application modernization and just to kind of wrap it up, right? Application modernization usually means modernizing how an enterprise works, not just the application. Because you can go ahead and Kubernetes, create microservices, create databases, you can partition the database and do everything. But if the mentality, if the mindset of the organization does not change, then you're kind of back to square one. So we help the customers, we help our clients go through this journey, and that's why I like to call it an app modernization journey, and which is a process, and help them get there. And when they get there, help them kind of stay there rather than going back to their old ways of doing it. Again, that's the first thing that I have in here, right? It is complex, it is a journey, but we will help you, we will hold you through the process, and it's not just going to be us going through the process, it's Redapt and the customer making the journey together. A few steps that we usually recommend to the customers when we go through the modernization journey. If it's an enterprise customer, big customer with a big suite of applications, first thing is very simple, right? Catalog your existing applications in your portfolio, right? Very simple and very straightforward. Once you have it cataloged, understand the use cases for your existing applications, because that would determine which applications are suitable for the cloud and which one should we just keep it on-prem or keep it the way it is and not touch it. Fourth would be, once you're able to kind of identify which application needs to be migrated or kind of modernized into the cloud, that's when we talk about re-architecting or redesigning the application, and that starts your modernization journey, so to say, right? And the fifth point also comes in handy, a lot of times where we say, hey, let's create a proof of concept when we go through the modernization journey, because this is important for us. Instead of kind of, hey, here it is, boom, opening up the entire workspace, entire thing for you. Let's show you how it is done. Let's kind of do it together, and then it's going to be both of us going through the journey together. So typically 5 steps that we take when we talk to our customers who want to go through this journey, and we've had big enterprise customers who have gone through the journey, understood the need, made these decisions, and kind of worked with us through the process itself. Just to kind of sum it up before I talk a little bit about the tools, scale applications efficiently, that we kind of definitely talked about. Resiliency comes here again. Optimizing resource usage, especially when we talk about managed services on Azure or AWS or Google. Cut down on the costs. Deploy new products to customer faster, because that's essentially why we are doing the entire thing. Get your product to the market at a much faster pace, at a better pace than your customer, and also while doing that, make sure your costs are not going up. You have a good handle on your costs. So that is kind of at a very high level end-to-end modernization journey. A few things that we use, some of the tools available to help customers implement and manage Kubernetes that we have used in our journey that we have helped customers. Of course, I think everybody's familiar with Helm charts. So they are leaders when it comes to package management. They are definitely open source. For versioning deployments, they provide service and ingress rules. There are plenty of advantages. Well, to use Helm, it's an interpretive language, so what you see is what you get. The other thing, the added advantage with that is we have used it to spin up multiple environments. We have used it in conjunction together with Terraform. Terraform is your infrastructure as a code that we use to provision, set up your virtual network, set up your cluster, set up your machine, storage, edge devices, whatever you want to do, you use Terraform for it, and you use Terraform together with Helm and charts to go ahead and spin up multiple environments using the same configuration that you usually have. We also use Vault, which kind of provides dynamic credentialing. We also use, this could be Azure Key Vault or the regular Vault. It works seamlessly with Terraform, so that's pretty much our go-to tool when it comes to credential management, as well as injecting secrets into Terraform, into Kubernetes when we do the deployment itself. And the fourth tool, of course, everybody knows about it, Jenkins, that we use together with Kubernetes plugin, which makes the whole auto scale CI/CD process much simpler for us. And going back to the scalability conversation that we had, it is useful for us to kind of scale it up or scale it down. And Jenkins with the CI/CD pipelines provides us that capability to kind of go do it seamlessly. So 4 different tools. These are some of the top tools that we use inside Redapt that we have recommended customers. We have walked them through the process, and they have been happy using these tools, and we have helped them get there at a much faster pace. So if you have any questions, www.redapt.com. We offer many cloud solutions offering. We are partners with all the 3 major cloud providers that are out there. If there is any help, or if you just want to talk to me and say hi, Ron will be able to send out my email address as well. And thanks for the time today to kind of present, and happy to take on any questions, Ron, team, everybody else.